Las estrellas son bellas por la flor que no se ve.
Wasn't that a beautiful moment? If you cherish the magic of literature and want to explore more deeply, join our literary community by subscribing to this channel. And to enrich your library even further, we have a special offer for you. Click the link in the description to subscribe to Audible and receive a free audiobook with your subscription.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's The Little Prince.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like such a simple story, but it's packed with some, well, really profound stuff about life.
It really is.
And we're also going to touch on something quite different, a short piece about survival from Documentos in Título 4.pdf, which sounds pretty intense, dealing with a harsh desert experience.
Right, a stark contrast.
Yeah, exactly. So you shared these sources, and it makes me think, what drew you to put these two together? Maybe something about imagination versus, I don't know, tough circumstances?
Or maybe the inner world versus the external challenges we face.
Could be. So our mission today is to sort of unpack these, see what connects them, and really dig into what they're telling us.
Sounds good. And The Little Prince kicks off in such an interesting way with that dedication to Leonworth. First as an adult.
Right, and then he immediately says, no, wait, to the child he used to be.
Exactly. Adding that line, all grown-ups were once children, but few of them remember it. What does that signal right from the get-go, do you think?
It feels like it's telling us straight away, look at this through a child's eyes. Value that perspective that maybe wonder that adults tend to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. It sets the stage.
And then you get that first drawing, the boa constrictor with the elephant inside. To kids, it's obvious.
Totally.
But adults, they just see a hat. And it makes the narrator quit drawing when he's only 6.
It's a perfect example of that disconnect, isn't it? How differently children and adults can see the very same thing. It asks us, have we lost something important as we've grown up?
A key way of seeing, maybe?
Precisely. This idea of surface versus depth runs all through it. And then, boom, the narrator crashes his plane in the Sahara, miles from anywhere.
Like 1,000 miles. And barely any water. A real crisis.
A total crisis. And who shows up? The little prince, asking him,
please, draw me a sheep. It's almost funny, the contrast. Life and death for the pilot, and the prince wants a drawing.
It really highlights those different perspectives, doesn't it? The prince is focused on what matters to him right then. It's kind of a pure focus.
And the drawings. The narrator tries, but the prince keeps rejecting them. Too sick. Wrong horns.
Too old. He has this very specific sheep in his mind. He knows what he wants.
So the narrator, probably getting a bit stressed about his plane,
You'd think.
just draws a box. The sheep you want is inside.
And the prince loves it. That's exactly the way I wanted it.
That moment. That's all about imagination, right? The box becomes the perfect sheep for him.
It really is. It shows that power to see beyond what's literally there. A capacity maybe we let fade a bit as adults focused on the real world.
Then we find out about his home. Asteroid B612. Tiny place.
Barely bigger than a house.
And that story about the Turkish astronomer who discovered it, how nobody believed him at first because of his clothes?
Right. In 1909, they dismissed him. But in 1920, he wears a European suit, gives the same presentation.
And suddenly, everyone accepts it.
It's a pretty sharp commentary on adult obsession with appearances. With the superficial, isn't it?
Yeah.
Judging the cover, not the book. Or the astronomer, not the astronomy.
Definitely. And then, on his little planet, you have the baobabs.
Ah, the baobabs, yes.
These seeds that seem harmless, but if you don't pull them up right away.
They can grow huge. They can split the whole planet apart.
So the prince has this daily chore, pulling them up. It feels like a big theme, that responsibility, dealing with problems when they're small.
It's a fantastic metaphor for, the little things in our own lives or even bigger societal issues that we need to tend to before they become overwhelming. Constant vigilance.
And the sunsets. He loves sunsets. On his planet, he could just move his chair a few feet and see another one.
Imagine seeing 43 sunsets in one day.
He says, when one is very sad, one loves sunsets. There's something so simple and true about that.
It really is. Finding comfort in nature, in beauty, especially when you're feeling down. It's a very gentle way of coping.
Then they have this discussion about thorns on flowers. The prince insists they're for protection.
He gets quite worked up when the narrator dismisses it, doesn't he? He calls the narrator unserious.
Yeah, he gets really emotional because the narrator is busy with his plane and says something like, oh, flowers just have thorns out of spite.
And the prince is horrified. It shows how much he respects, well, everything. He wants to understand the why behind even small things, which leads us to his flower.
Ah, yes, the flower. Quite a character, that one.
Definitely. Very concerned with her looks. Takes ages to get ready.
A bit vain, maybe. Demanding. Worried about drafts. Needs a scream.
Complaining about her simple thorns when she talks about tigers,
Ugh.
which don't exist on his planet.
Huh, right. But despite all that, the prince really loved her. It feels quite human, their relationship. Complex.
It absolutely mirrors the messiness of real connections, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The mix of affection and frustration, how we navigate loving someone, flaws and all.
So eventually he decides to leave. He cleans his volcanoes, gets everything in order,
A sense of duty even as he's leaving.
and he says goodbye to the flower. And it's only then she finally tells him she loves him and that she was foolish. She lets him go.
That timing, it's often like that, isn't it? Hard to say the important things until the very last moment. His careful departure, though, it shows a kind of maturity.
And then he starts visiting other asteroids, each with just one inhabitant. It's like a tour of adult follies.
It really is. First, the king.
Wants to rule everything, but crucially only gives orders that can be obeyed. Rule requires that orders be reasonable.
A strange kind of logic there. Then the conceited man.
Oh yeah, he just wants applause, admiration, that's it.
Then the tippler, the drunkard.
Drinking to forget.
That he's ashamed of drinking. A terrible cycle.
And the businessman. Obsessively counting stars he thinks he owns.
Believing ownership comes from just counting and recording them. It makes him feel serious and rich.
It's baffling to the prince. And then the lamplighter.
Now, he's different. His planet spins faster and faster, so he has to light and extinguish his lamp every single minute.
Absurd orders, but he follows them faithfully.
And the prince. He actually admires him. Why do you think that is?
Well, the prince says it's because his work is useful, it creates beauty, and it's about something other than himself, unlike the others.
Exactly. Even though the task itself is, well, nonsensical given the speed of the planet, the lamplighter's dedication is to something external. He's the first one the prince thinks he could be friends with.
It's a really interesting point about finding meaning in dedication, maybe.
I think so. Then the last asteroid before Earth has the geographer,
Knows all about oceans and mountains.
but has never left his desk. He relies on explorers, and he's very concerned about their moral character, interestingly.
And he's the one who tells the prince his flower is ephemeral.
Meaning short-lived, likely to disappear.
That hits the prince hard, doesn't it? The thought of his flower being temporary.
It really does. The geographer is all about recording permanent things, but for the prince, the flower's very ephemerality makes her more precious, more in need of his care.
So the geographer advises him to visit Earth, and Earth is vast.
Huge. So many people. He uses that analogy of all the lamplighters before electricity.
Oh, right, like a giant, beautiful ballet across the whole globe when they lit their lamps in sequence. A moment of connection.
A fleeting image of harmony before he dives into the reality of Earth.
And his encounters there are varied. First, the snake in the desert.
Speaks in riddles. Very
Oh.
mysterious. Says he's more powerful than a king's finger and can send people back where they came from. Offers to help the prince later.
Creepy. Then he meets a single flower with 3 petals.
Yeah, the desert flower. She says humans lack roots, the wind blows them around. Kind of a lonely image.
Then he shouts in the mountains and only hears his echo.
Makes him think Earth is dry, hard, and unimaginative, just repeating what he says.
But the big one is the rose garden. Thousands of roses, all looking like his flower.
That must have been devastating for him. He thought his flower was unique in all the universe.
And suddenly, she's just one of many. He lies down and cries.
It's a real moment of disillusionment, but it perfectly sets up his meeting with the fox.
Ah, the fox. This feels like the absolute heart of the book.
I think you're right. The fox explains taming.
It means to create ties, to establish a bond.
And if the prince tames the fox, they will need each other. They'll become unique to each other.
It's not about possession, it's about connection. The fox talks about the ritual the patience needed.
Like needing to come at the same time each day so the fox can look forward to it. The rites, he calls them. The joy of anticipation.
And when the prince has to leave, the fox is sad, says he'll cry, but he says he has gained something. The color of the wheat fields will now remind him of the prince's hair.
Such a beautiful way to put it. And then the fox shares the secret.
What is essential is invisible to the eye.
It is only with the heart that one can see rightly.
That's the line everyone remembers, isn't it?
It is. And related to that, you become responsible forever for what you have tamed. And importantly, it is the time you have wasted for your rose that makes your rose so important.
So his rose is unique not because there are no others like her, but
Yeah.
because she's his rose, the one he cared for, the one he tamed.
Exactly. The value comes from the relationship, the investment of time and heart.
Wow. Okay. After that deep lesson, he meets the railway switchman.
Sorting passengers onto trains, rushing off in different directions.
The adults on the trains, the switchman says, don't even know what they're looking for. They yawn or sleep.
But the children flatten their noses against the windows, watching the world go by. They know what they want.
It's another comment on that sort of aimless rushing of adult life versus the focused wonder of childhood.
Seems like it. Then the merchant selling pills.
Thirst-quenching pills to save time. 53 minutes a week, apparently.
And the prince just thinks,
If I had 53 minutes, I'd walk very slowly toward a spring of fresh water.
huh, perfect response. It questions that whole modern obsession with efficiency over actual, simple, maybe profound experiences.
Okay, so let's bring in that other document for a moment. Documentos in titulo.pdf. It describes people stranded in a desert, extreme thirst, hallucinations, just brutal physical reality.
A very different picture of the desert than the somewhat mystical space where the prince has his encounters.
How does that raw survival account connect with or maybe contrast with the prince's journey?
Well, it grounds the idea of thirst in stark physical need. It's life or death. The prince also experiences thirst, especially with the narrator when the water runs out.
Right, they search for water together.
But the prince frames it differently.
Yeah.
He talks about thirst of the heart almost. He says, what makes the desert beautiful is that somewhere it hides a well.
Ah, so again, it's the hidden, the invisible thing that gives value, just like the fox's secret.
Exactly. And he even says, water may also be good for the heart. It's not just about physical survival for him, it's about something deeper. The shared search for the well connects him and the narrator.
And when they finally find the well, drawing the water, drinking it, the narrator describes it as being like a gift.
Born from the walk under the stars, the song of the pulley, the effort of my arms, it was good for the heart, like a present. It's the shared experience, the effort that makes the water more than just water.
Reaffirming that lesson, it is only with the heart that one can see rightly.
Mm-hmm.
But then the mood shifts. We know the prince has been there almost a year.
The anniversary of his arrival is approaching.
He starts talking to the narrator about returning home, seems sad, more distant.
He misses his flower. That sense of responsibility is pulling him back.
And the narrator finds him near an old stone wall, talking to the snake.
The same snake from the beginning, the one who offered to help him return.
It's clear what's about to happen. The prince looks pale, serious. He reassures the narrator about his repaired plane.
Even in that moment, he's concerned for his friend. But he says his own journey home is much farther, much more difficult.
It's heartbreaking. The narrator doesn't want him to go, wants to protect him, but he can't.
And the prince tries to comfort him, gives him the gift of the stars.
Saying that when the narrator looks at the stars, knowing the prince is living on one of them, laughing on one of them, all the stars will laugh for him, like millions of little bells.
What a beautiful, poignant gift.
But he asks the narrator not to watch him leave. He says it will look a little like dying, but it won't be true. He doesn't want the narrator to be sad.
Protecting his friend right to the end.
And then he's gone. The narrator looks for his body the next morning, but it's not there.
He believes the prince made it back to his planet.
The book ends 6 years later. The narrator still misses the prince, finds comfort in the stars, the bells.
But there's that lingering worry.
Yeah. Did he remember to draw the leather strap for the sheep's muzzle? Could the sheep have eaten the flower?
That little thread of uncertainty. It shows how deeply the connection affected him, the responsibility he still feels. It's a very real, very human ending.
So, wrapping up this deep dive,
Yeah.
wow, the little prince and that brief, harsh desert account, they really do push us to think about what matters.
Absolutely. Seeing with the heart, valuing connections, experiences, the invisible things,
Yeah.
over just, appearances or numbers or efficiency.
You brought these together, and it feels like they both highlight in very different ways how fragile beauty can be, how important relationships are, and maybe how much we need that childlike wonder in a world that often forgets it.
Well said. The vulnerability of the flower, the desperate need for water, the bonds created through taming. It all points to similar core truths.
So a final thought for everyone listening. What are the flowers in your own life? the things or people you're responsible for whose value might not be obvious on the surface.
And maybe consider, how could shifting your perspective, trying consciously to see with the heart, change how you experience your world and the ties you hold dear?